You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. Firstly, thank you very much to both of you for coming and telling us all about these street pastors. I was hoping you could introduce yourself firstly to our listeners.
Hello, my name is Thana Tracey, and I live in Sittingbourne, and I commute up into London. I have a family, 3 grown-up children. I work in London as a accountant and bookkeeper, running a business there.
Hello there, I'm Tracy Jordan. I'm a mum of 3 children. I also live in Sittingbourne. I also work in Sittingbourne as well, quite local. So, yeah, that's me.
Well, I was hoping this evening you could tell us a little bit about, to start off, who are the street pastors?
Well, street pastors, as many of you may already know and have seen us on Friday evenings, every Friday evenings in Sittingbourne High Street. We're a group of Christian trained volunteers who are there really to help and to care and to listen for the people's needs out on the street on those evenings.
Yeah, I would say we are, as Tana said, a very caring and very listening organisation. We're very non-judgmental as well, and although we are from the church, we are actually not Bible bashers. We don't actually preach. It's just a case of caring for very vulnerable people at times.
And I was hoping you could expand on what you do.
Well, on sort of every Fridays, we don our uniforms. You'll notice we always wear our caps with street pastors emblazoned over the caps, the shirts, the coats, and everything. There's about 33 street pastors that are trained. 25 of them are active, and we go out in teams of around about 4 to 6. And while we go out as street pastors, another group of around 4 to 6 also remain behind at a base, usually a church reception, where they remain to pray and to think, sort of give us information if there's anything that helpful that they can pass on to us on the streets, and vice versa. But we're out on those streets just listening, helping. We've got a rucksack full of things that we might come into usefulness, and it's there for the vulnerable people of Sittingbourne, really, that are out and often not able to make the night completely, as it were, and yeah.
Yeah, and Tana mentioned obviously the rucksack. We are equipped with tools such as flip-flops. Girls tend to go out in very, very high heels. Halfway through the evening, they can no longer walk in them, so flip-flops are handed out. Nice pink ones, one size fits all. So yeah, they're given to them basically to stop their feet from cutting on any bottles and glass and things like that. We also give out lollipops as well. They're quite a good deterrent. They do stop fights, but also they aid with keeping up people's sugar levels as well. And obviously water as well we give, and we do kind of do very basic sort of first aid as well. So yeah, it's keeping people safe and making sure they still have fun, which is what Friday night's all about, really.
So why do you do it?
I guess there's no going away from the fact that we are a Christian group, and really that it's at the heart of what we do and why we do it, but it's also not at the forefront, as it were, because we're there in a practical way for people, and particularly for vulnerable people.
And I think you're going to continue talking a little bit about why you do it.
Yeah, the reason I basically do street pastoring, I mean, I am a mum. I do have 3 children. 2 of them are boys that are now teenagers, and it's just peace of mind knowing that if they are out and about, I mean, they know of the street pastors, but to have somebody like us, really, that young people can go to, talk and to them, chat to them all in confidence, and obviously if they have got issues or problems, that they have got somebody there that's quite vocal, to help basically. Also, I mean, the police, I mean, they are very, very good. They actually like us out there, and we've got a good relationship with all the pubs and the clubs as well, and they obviously like having us around as well, so that's obviously another reason why I like to do it.
So do you do any training before you go out on the streets to do this role?
Yes, if you want to become a street pastor, you need to embark on quite an intensive programme of training. The training is there to equip each new street pastor really with things to do with the social issues, drugs, alcohol, how things are running, the youth culture, just an understanding of the social problems, counselling, listening skills, a whole variety, and it takes place over a 6-month period, at the end of which there would be a commissioning of those street pastors that are on the course.
You're from the Sittingbourne team, but I know there's a team here on the island, and also others around Kent.
That's
you
right,
want to give that a mention and let our listeners know about that?
I mean, it may surprise you to know, but across Kent there are 12 other towns running street pastors, Sheerness being one of them. The coordinator there looking after it is Susan Hopper. She has a team of over 20 people, street pastors and prayer pastors together. They go out every 2 weeks on a Friday and a Saturday. But it's in Sheerness, and she's saying at the moment it's very quiet because I think your only nightclub is closed for refurbishment, and a very large pub also I think is closed for a refurbishment. So lately it's been very quiet, but no doubt that will pick up. I think you were going to say.
No, I was just going to sort of basically touch on the fact that it's churches working together. So in Sittingbourne alone, it's 11 churches that are actually actively involved in the street pastors, which brings a real sense of community coming together.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Now, a little bit earlier on, you mentioned about how you carry a rucksack. I think you're going to expand on more about why you carry that and what's in it, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think on the streets, I think people recognise that we're carrying stuff, and the rucksack is there, and quite a lot of the times we'll get asked early on in the evening for the flip-flops, the pink flip-flops that have got a fame of their own, I think. And later on we'll probably, and quite often we do see them wearing the flip-flops an hour or two later, so they weren't given out unnecessarily, as it were. But there are other times there have been really, really cold nights, and we've seen people worse for wear and slouched in a corner, and we've got some foil blankets which come in really handy and very good and effective. The water is important in rehydrating people. If they've had a quite a heavy night, you do need to get rehydrated, and but as you said about stopping fights, the lollipops.
Yes, it's proven to work. We've used them, and they have actually stopped several fights actually, because you've got a lollipop in your hand and you're sucking on a lollipop. You no longer look as cool as you did a few moments ago, and it just stops people arguing. It's quite a clever tool, and the police actually gave us that idea because they use that as well, believe it or not.
And the other thing to mention also is across nationally and across the world. I mean, it's in 250 towns across the country. There are over 10,000 trained street pastors, and there internationally there are some as well. The West Indies, America, Australia, and it's a growing kind of network in that sense. But the police in particular always do make a point of letting us know the figures of crime and antisocial behaviour on the nights that street pastors are out in that town drop by between 50 to 70% nearly in all circumstances. which is an endorsement, really. Yeah.
I think you're next going to talk about life on the streets at the night time.
Yeah, I guess from my point of view, being a commuter into London, when we first started out on Street Pastors, it was a real eye-opener seeing what the nighttime economy was like, really. And it was quite transforming, really, to understand how people's lives are, and getting to know people and getting friendships, building the nightclub owners, the door staff, the pub staff. It's just really nice building that kind of link of relationship between the community, between. It just seemed like it was a good thing to be doing, actually.
Yeah, I mean, we can sit here probably all night and tell you about people that we've helped and sort of testimonies and things like that. But it's amazing how many people we find in doorways on a cold, freezing night that are just totally unconscious, obviously very vulnerable. They can have their pockets picked, and the fact, obviously, hypothermia and things like that. So yeah, we've come across that's on quite a daily or nightly basis. When we go out, it's usually people slumped against windows, unfortunately. Have you got a story? I think you was going to say.
Yeah, no, there was one. I thought just it highlights things, really. But I remember one time there's a young girl, much worse for wear, slumped again in a corner by a shop, and there was a young lad that was with her, and we obviously were concerned about what was happening with her and whether she was okay. She didn't look, she was sort of like semi-conscious, really, but we went up and soon established the fact that the young lad was giving her some unwanted attention, and we kind of took over at that point and tried to help her. We did, in the end, after about half an hour or so, we managed to find a phone number on her phone to ring her father, in fact, and then spent another long while trying to persuade the father to come and actually pick her up. It was very early in the morning, and he was very reluctant to, but she wasn't going to get home very easily otherwise. So, just how vulnerable people can be, really.
Saying that, I mean, they're not all sort of so drunk. We have had met some amazing young people, and had some really amazing conversations as well with the young people out there. I want also perhaps to mention as well that when we're not actually in conversation with people, we do one of our jobs is that we tend to pick up glass bottles, which obviously can be sort of smashed and used as weapons later on. I have to mention Alan here because he's our bottle champ. We do have like little fun competitions between the teams to see who can actually pick up the most glass bottles, and I think Alan is definitely in the lead at the moment. So well done, Alan.
We also have some very good friendships with the door staff, really, and it's kind of like it's nice, really, because week in, week out we can establish that friendship, and it's good.
Well, if you're happy we've covered everything, before you go, I'd just like you to give out any useful contact details to our listeners where they can find out more.
Yeah, I'd love to. I just do want to just open up the possibility if people do want to know more, want to maybe even find out what it's like. We do give the opportunity, if it's appropriate, for you to join us as an observer. You'd have to wear an observer's bib and come round with us on that evening. It doesn't have to be for the whole time, but if you want to do that, do contact either myself, Tracy, the website, or the email, as it were, to contact us on is sittingborn@streetpastors.org.uk, and there is a website also which is www.streetpastors.co.uk, and we'd love to hear from anybody that would like to know more and get involved.
Well, I'd like to thank the both of you very much for coming along this evening and letting our listeners know all about what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That is us talking to the Street Pastors this evening right here at the Monday Night Community Show